This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Wednesday, October 9. Hump Day. Justin would always say, Hump Day. We're halfway through the week. Mid into October, man. It's this we're slowly sneaking into deep fall. Boy, how you doing? Hope you had a good week so far. On the program today, Matt Weaver, of course, from Peaks.com is going to join us as he does each week. We're going to hear from Tom Allen, Mike Penix, a few other players, Simon Stepanek, Wap Fillier, maybe Mr. Mullins, superstar freshman defensive back. Steve Aird, Indiana's volleyball coach, is going to be with us as well. They got a huge match tonight. They're taking on the Purdue Boilermakers, 7 o'clock, Wilkinson Hall. Couple of big, it's kind of odd. Got a pair of rival matches going on tonight on the Bloomington campus. I just talked about Purdue coming in to play volleyball against Indiana at 7 o'clock at Wilkinson Hall. Same time, right up the street at Bill Armstrong Stadium. Number 16, Kentucky, paying a visit to number 4, Indiana men's soccer. So we got a lot to cover tonight. A lot to get to. We're talking to Steve Aird today as the volleyball program looking to continue to improve as they have entered Big Ten play. Men's soccer program obviously taking a step out of Big Ten play to take one of their midweek matches, taking on Kentucky, which is always a great regional match, man. I was down there last year for that match. Indiana, a young team this year. Lots of freshmen. One of which is Aiden Morris, fresh off of being named Offensive Player of the Week in the Big Ten this week. Man, this team is young but good. Man, those guys are good. They've got some good freshmen. And I had a text in yesterday, and it was perfect. It talked about if IU basketball was in the same shape as IU soccer, they would not have had this lull of 25 years, which is true. It comes down to the text was about hiring the right coach and getting Todd Yeagley in there, that the program may have been slipping in a different direction after the retirement of Jerry Yeagley. That Todd Yeagley came in and is able to each year provide a solid recruiting class, and he does, and they don't have problems, and they continue to excel. They continue to be one of the best programs in the sport, going to College Cup finals, which are Final Fours, having freshmen that not only come in but make an impact immediately. Yeah, that's but coaching them up. The men's soccer team, no doubt, the recipe for a successful college athletic program. Looking forward to catching Todd Yeagley and the crew out there tonight. Some visits coming up. This weekend, Indiana's going to be hosting Trey Patterson. He's a 6'9" big man out of the 2021 class from Rutgers, New Jersey. He has several offers. I think Indiana's the biggest offer he has. Dawson Garcia will be coming in a few weeks. Matter of fact, 2 weeks exactly. 25th through the 27th. A big man out of the 2020 class that Indiana desperately needs. Both big man, different classes would serve the Hoosiers well. Romeo Langford, he's been cleared, returned to live action for the Celtics. He's been dealing with a little groin injury. Tim texted in the show, I will be watching football in the form of soccer tonight. Always nice to have a chance to beat Rutgers. No, beat Kentucky. He texted in right behind that with another one that said Rutgers on it. Always nice to have a chance to beat Kentucky. Funny, Patterson's coming in when we play Rutgers. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Maybe that's helpful. Because Indiana should just kick the snot out of Rutgers. And not that I think that Rutgers is a threat to get this kid. They're not. He's not going to get his head beat in for the next 4 years, which was what would happen if he went to Rutgers. Even though it's football, not basketball, he'll be seeing Saturday. Same difference. They're in the same place. And that's maybe not so bad, but Rutgers football is really down there. Rutgers football has fired its head coach, fired its offensive coordinator. Their quarterback says, I'm not playing anymore. I want a red shirt. They had another player that I think is holding out as well.
Didn't their best running back just transfer? Like he just left?
It's just all kinds of mess. It's nothing but a mess. I mean, it's a mess. Rutgers football's a mess. No doubt about that. Tell you what's not a mess is Indiana football. We'll talk to Matt Weaver about that today. How many games do you think they can win this year, folks? Seriously. Every game that they have left on their schedule is winnable. I'm not going to put that on Penn State on them, but because it's at Penn State. Everything else, I think they have the opportunity to do something they haven't done in a long, long time. They haven't won 4 straight Big Ten games since, I think, 93. They have that opportunity to do that. As a matter of fact, I think they can win 6 out of their last 7 games. I think they can win 6 out of their last 7. Now, do they? I don't know, but definitely a possibility. The game at Penn State in mid-November, that's tough. I'm going to give you that. But you got Rutgers. Then you have to travel to Maryland, which it's on the road, but they should take care of Maryland. You've got to take care of those games. You just have to. If you want to go to a bowl game and be considered serious, you've got to win those games. Now, that's followed up with a tough road game at Nebraska. Is that a tall task? Yes. I don't care. If you're the better team, you need to win. If you want to claim to be better, you need to win. These are the games you have to win to be anything other than mediocre. Nebraska is vulnerable right now. They're in a growing stage as well. They won this past week over Northwestern, barely. A field goal with seconds left that crawled its way over the crossbar. And then, of course, Northwestern comes to visit after the road game at Nebraska. Those are 4 games, buoyed, starting with a home game, ending with a home game. traveling in the middle, but I think all 4 are winnable. That would put Indiana at 7 wins already with 3 games to play. 9 wins are not out of the question for this team. Hell, if you want to be honest, 10 aren't, if you want to include a bowl. It's possible. Now, Michigan looked good. I'm not going to lie. Their defense took a step up last week against Iowa. They held the Hawkeyes to 3 points. Iowa's pretty good. They still don't have much on offense, which is good. But I don't think that Iowa has the passing game that Indiana has, so Michigan hasn't seen something like that. I think Indiana can win that game. Then you got to travel to Purdue. Again, a tough place to play, but Indiana's played them tough the last 2 years, losing by a score. They lost by a score year before last up there. They didn't have anything like the offensive team that they have right now. And Purdue is hurting. It's going to be very interesting. Going to be very interesting. We're going to hear from Taiwan Mullen today. We're going to hear from Tom Allen. Steve Aird's going to join us in the next hour, Indiana's volleyball coach. Going to preview that big match tonight. Matt Weaver's going to join us next. Stay tuned. We got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday, October 9. You know what that means. We are dreaming. Matt Weaver from Peaks.com is with us. How are you, brother?
I'm pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Good, good. A little time off with the bye last week. Did you get rested up and healed up?
Yeah, I guess as much as possible, as much as you can with 4 kids.
Yeah, I bet, man. I bet. You got your own tribe going. Indiana back at it this weekend. To me, if you look at the schedule, this could not be any more perfect for Indiana from a getting better standpoint. You have a bye, which allows you time to rest, to relax, and work on practice more. Then you come back with a very easy game. There's no other way to say it, against Rutgers. And then to go on the road and for it to be Maryland, that's as nice as probably easy as a gift you're going to get. And it just kind of continues to get a little more difficult as you go along. But it's perfect for Indiana, I think, is man, they have a shot to win 9 games this year, Matt.
Yeah, they do. I mean, and you kind of look at some of the teams that you thought, preseason were going to be better, so far haven't lived up to expectations, or they've had some injuries or whatever it may be. I mean, you look at, Maryland came out of the gate like a house of fire, and they've really, really cooled off. Nebraska just hasn't been what everybody thought of. They were the trendy, popular pick to win the Big Ten West. Northwestern has really, really struggled. I mean, they've never been a really explosive offensive team, but they are just not playing well on offense at all. Obviously Penn State looks pretty good. Maybe the second best team in the East, and which might make them the second best team in the Big Ten. Michigan has bounced back, but to me, the jury's still out there because they took care of Rutgers, which is Rutgers of it, like you said, is just not very good. And then they did a good job against Iowa, but offensively again they struggled. Their defense was fantastic, and then Purdue is. I thought Purdue might struggle this year even without the injuries because their offensive line, I said it before the season, I didn't think their offensive line was going to be all that great, and that's kind of come to fruition. But then they've also had the injuries to the quarterback position and obviously Rondell Moore. So, there are a number. To me, you look at the rest of the schedule, Penn State's the one game where even if Indiana plays their A game, it still may be tough to win just because I think they're pretty good. But everybody else, and I'm going to group Michigan in there. I mean, it'd take a good effort to beat Michigan because they've got talent. But if they play their A game, I think they can win any of those games. Like I said, except for maybe Penn State.
Yeah, I started writing something yesterday, and boy, there were a lot of high expectations of this team coming in. I thought this offense could be prolific, still do, obviously, but that slow start against Ball State, the stymied running game, and then the absolute shellacking by Ohio State really had a lot of us thinking like, all right, am I, misgauge this team? Then all of a sudden Ohio State is doing that to everybody. And Indiana responds with a gutty performance up in East Lansing that showed that, no, this team is for real still, but Ohio State's just that good. But this team is that good. If they can get things lined up on defense, they can have a very, very special season.
Yeah, and I think they will. And I know, obviously the defense has been up and down, and like you said, other than the Ohio State game, the offense has been pretty good. Now, I mean, some of that, it's not been the toughest part of their schedule, but they played a really good defense in Michigan State. Michigan State showed how good they could be defensively. I know Ohio State scored 34, but they, it wasn't that wasn't an easy 34. They had to work to get that. But yeah, the defense, they've been inconsistent. There's no doubt about it. But I think I still like the defense. I like the talent they have. You don't want to play the young guy card, but they are playing a number of guys that are still relatively inexperienced, and they're trying to fit some pieces in there. Guys haven't played a ton, especially on the D line. So I think they're going to improve. And like you said, I think the bye comes at a really good time. It gives them a couple weeks to kind of shore things up, go over things with their guys, watch some film, fix some stuff, and really, to me, the biggest kind of maybe disappointment with the defense has been the inconsistent play on the back end. I know people talk about the pass rush. I don't think the pass rush has been as bad as people think. I think Indiana's done a lot of the teams have done things to kind of scheme against the pass rush. I think they've actually done a decent job. The sack numbers don't show it, but I think they've actually gotten some pressure on teams. I mean, they did it against Michigan State. Ball State in the first game, they were actually getting some pressure. They were hitting the quarterback, but they were doing things to get rid of the ball quick and stuff like that. To me, the inconsistency on the back end. I mean, in that Michigan State game, if Brian Fitzgerald makes that pick six, which was basically gift wrap for him, that's a different game. He just and 99 times out of 100, Brian Fitzgerald's probably going to make that play. It just happened to be the one time he didn't. So, Tywan Mullen has been absolutely fantastic. But they just need to get the consistency back there. They haven't been bad; they just been inconsistent. And if they can get that fixed, I think this defense has got a chance to still be pretty good.
Man, Tywan Mullen, how good can this kid be? He's already extraordinarily good as a freshman. He's a true freshman, right? He was playing high school this time last year.
Yeah, and I mean, not to pat myself on the back, but I told people on our board I thought this kid could be special. I didn't think it'd be this soon, so I'm not going to take credit for that. I thought he would play this year, but I thought he would kind of be more kind of eased into it, play some special teams, but he is. I knew he would be good. I just didn't know it would be this quick. And one reason why is he's a guy that he's not the biggest guy. He needs to get a little bit bigger, but man, his instincts, his feet for playing the position, just all this stuff. And then, he just got that mindset. I just think he's one of these guys that mentally nothing bothers him. He made that mistake in the Ohio State game where he hit the punter. If you remember early on, he got that penalty for hitting the return guy. And even though the game obviously went really sideways for Indiana, he was the one guy that still kind of stood out throughout that game, was making plays against their top guys throughout the game. So he's just a special kid. Comes from a great family, with his brother, the MVP of the national championship game last year, now with the Raiders. His cousin's Lamar Jackson, the quarterback for the Ravens. And what's scary is I've heard that the younger brother, he's got a younger brother, I think it's a sophomore, junior. I can't remember what year he is, but I've heard he might be the best of the bunch. So there's another one coming, and he's a terrific kid, and he's a special player.
Yeah, when you talk to him, it's amazing. His humble confidence. I mean, he's extraordinarily humble, but his confidence is just amazing. And but he was asked about it the other day, and he talked about, I have older brothers, and yeah. He used to get beat down by the guys that you just listed, a guy that was an MVP in a national championship game and another guy that won a Heisman Trophy. So he knows he's grown up playing around extreme elite talent, and this is nothing to him. It's and it shows, but his humbleness is really catches you, and that talent. He's going to be special, man. He could leave here as potentially the best defensive back in Indiana history.
Yeah, and I think I get the same sense when I talk to like a Michael Penix. I think those guys, they know they're good. You know what I mean? But it doesn't come across as cocky. I mean, it's just kind of a quiet confidence. Hey, even if I make a mistake, even if something, there's some adversity, I'll be fine. I know what I can do. I know I can play, and I know I can really do well at this level. I think you see that with both those guys. And I don't know if it's because they're from Florida and football's so big down there. I mean, obviously they've been blessed with, natural talent, but they've also worked very hard to cultivate that talent. And then mentally, they just have that. Both of those guys just seem to have that it factor that you really can't describe, but you just kind of know it when you see it. And, Indiana's lucky to have them.
Yeah, I could not agree more. It's that I was going to mention that very same thing, and it's not cockiness in any way. It is just those guys have grown up playing around elite talent, and it has simply made them better. And that has been the difference between Indiana being Indiana of old And I think Indiana, being what this potential team lays out there for the possibilities for Indiana, they haven't had this kind of talent where they were this legitimately confident. You heard them talk confidently, but that was just coach speak, just speak. It was not real. This is real. These guys, they are confident in what they do, but it also comes across on the field. It's not just BS. It comes across, and you can see it. And so, Indiana football fans, they should be excited. This is not the same old Indiana football program.
No, and it's amazing, and not to but when you have a guy like a Michael Penix who could do what he did, and 20 in a row at Michigan State. And I know some people will say, well, some of those throws were, they weren't deep throws. Those were timing throws. He hit guys in stride. Those were everything had to be worked, had to really work, and guys had to really do their jobs. And he had to put the ball on him. And he made some throws that I think only he can make, or maybe Jack Tuttle can make some of those throws. But his ball placement in that game. I mean, to me, there's the difference between accuracy and completion percentage. Completion percentage is great. But if the guy has to slow down to make the catch, if he has to stop, if the ball's behind him and it kind of halts his progress or his ability to get upfield after you make the catch, that's a problem. And Penix was doing a really good job of putting the ball on guys in stride where they just had to catch it and get upfield. And like I said, that there wasn't those throws weren't deep throws, but those were throws where you had to put some velocity, you had to get it out quick, and you had to be accurate with it. And then he made some really other nice throws. I mean, the touchdowns to Wop were fantastic throws, especially the second one. I just think when you have a guy back there like that who can do those things, when he has that kind of arm talent, I would think it would give you confidence, as an offense, and then as a team, as a defense. If you get the ball back to that offense, you got to feel pretty good about them going down the field and scoring.
Absolutely, and a lot of those throws people don't understand that because of the velocity, they're getting there before the defense can get there to break them up. That's another reason why it may just be a 10-yard pass, but it's difficulty when you've got a defender on somebody and that ball gets there before they do. And I think that his arm strength allows him to make throws that while they may look simple on the field, they're not, because they're threaded. They're in such a difficult position, but his arm strength gets him there quick enough that the catch is made.
Yeah, and credit to Coach to Kalen DeBoer, the offensive coordinator. His game plan against Michigan State was fantastic, and not only that, his play calling was really good. I mean, you talk about players who get in zones where they just can't miss a basket, or whatever it is, they can't do anything wrong. I think he got to a point in that game with his play calling where he was kind of in his zone. Everything pretty much he called. I mean, I think the two calls I would probably take back were the two runs to Samson James, the kind of jet sweeps, and the one on fourth down, he did it again. But other than that, I can't really think of a call. There might have been a couple others, but I can't think of one that just kind of sticks out like, hey, that was maybe not the best call. And obviously they saw something to run those, but his play calling and the way they controlled the rhythm and tempo of the offense was really, really good. And it'll be fun to watch them. I mean, this week, it shouldn't be the greatest test. I mean, this should be a game where probably you're going to get some backups in, but going forward, this offense should be fun to watch because, they're still kind of coming together. I mean, with Penix missing those games, they're still kind of figuring each other out with this new quarterback and coming together. But that performance, especially when he didn't practice for about 2 weeks, was really, really good. And so it should be fun to watch going forward.
Yeah, and that makes you wonder how good can this offense become, because as good as he looked at Michigan State, that's with a lot of time off. His season had been broken up. He just hasn't had that many snaps as a college quarterback. If you want to be serious about it, yet he comes in and is smooth and is able to run that offense as smoothly as he did. Man, this offense can be really tough. And if they get that running game going, it's going to be Katie bar the door.
Yeah, and I know that the numbers aren't going to show it, and against a Michigan State team, it's going to be tough to put up huge running numbers. But I like the way the offensive line came off the ball against Michigan State. I like the way they blocked. Now there were some runs where they didn't get much, but they kept at it. And there's some runs where they ripped off some decent gains. I mean, there's some in there they had 7-8 yards. I think Stevie Scott's running harder. Not that he wasn't running. I just think he's running with more more physicality than he maybe was early. I think early in the year he was trying to break big runs, which sometimes means you try to, instead of just putting your shoulders down and kind of trucking a guy, you maybe try to make him miss, and sometimes those can lead to can cost you some yards. The other thing is, this offense has played pretty well. Like you throw out the Ohio State game, and a lot of people are going to struggle against Ohio State. Everybody's going to struggle against Ohio State, and they really haven't got a ton out of Nick Westbrook. And I think he's going to come on. I think he's going to put. Once he gets rolling, I think he's really going to have some good games. And I know they got a lot of weapons, so it's hard for one guy to maybe put up big numbers. I know Wops had that game, but I think Nick Westbrook's the guy that's really going to come on. And when he does, I think it's just going to be even more. This offense is going to even go to another level because he's so talented, so good, and such a big threat on the outside. It'll be fun if they can get him going over these next few weeks.
Absolutely. Anything that the people need to know about that you're working on, Matt?
Yeah, just obviously some preview stuff for Rutgers, and I'm gonna do a little story since we're 5 games into the season. You're past the point where freshmen, or really any player who's never had a red shirt, but really this is rules. It's mainly for freshmen or newcomers. If they played 5 games, I'm gonna go through the class and kind of give my prediction on. Obviously there's some guys that have burned their red shirt, like a David Ellis, a Tywan Mullen, Samson James. I think there's a couple other in there. Sean Ratcher, the long snapper. But kind of give my prediction on the rest of the guys, maybe guys who played a couple games, and whether I think they'll red shirt or go past that 4 games. So it might be kind of a fun story that people want to check out and kind of get my thoughts on who I think will red shirt, who I think will be contributors for the rest of the year.
Matt Weaver from Peaks.com. That's where you find it. Matthew, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys. Have a good week.
You bet. There's Matt Weaver from Peaks.com. We're talking some IU football. I've got Aaron Matus, sports director for Fox 41, coming up next. Stay tuned. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Hump Day edition, October 9, Wednesday. Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, of course, joined by our good friend Aaron Matus, sports director from Fox 41 in Louisville. How are you, brother?
I'm doing very well. We got some fall weather. It's finally feeling like it. Good riddance to the 90s. I'm happy, Jim.
I hear you, brother. I hear you, man. You've been bouncing around everywhere. You've been so busy. I've seen John Lewis a lot lately, but not the great Aaron.
Well, I will. I'm planning on coming up on Saturday for the homecoming game, so I'll be there for that game. But yeah. Between all the different colleges, we sure do bounce around a lot, which is good. Gives you a little variety, but always excited to be up in Bloomington.
Since John was in East Lansing and you weren't up there, I'm sure you had to be surprised when you saw that score with 2 minutes to go.
Well, I had a chance. I did get to watch that game, and it's we've seen that movie before, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Also,
I mean, was I surprised? I think we all knew. I mean, we've talked about on the show that this team had a chance to be pretty good this year, and I think they looked pretty good in that game. But man, and until they figure out a way to score that touchdown late and then get a stop to give themselves a chance, which I don't know what to say about them. You're just waiting for it to happen, and we continue to wait.
Yeah, I think that it's. Of course, I'm going to sound like everybody else. I think it's on its way. I mean, that's the one thing. Before the season, I thought this offense could be so prolific, and then they had I just talked about this with Matt Weaver. Then they had this slow start. They didn't look all that great against Ball State. It was okay against Eastern Illinois, but we didn't see Mike Penix. And then he goes out, and then they get destroyed by Ohio State, and you're like, oh, man, here we go, same old crap. But then Ohio State beats the crap out of everybody.
Yeah.
And we realize Ohio State is just that good. And
Yep.
Not only does Michael Penix comes back, but he puts him in a position to almost get an unbelievable upset. So I was just talking to Matt Weaver. I think that every remaining game on their schedule, with the exception of maybe at Penn State, is a winnable game for these Hoosiers.
Yeah, I think everyone has kind of brought down not that the Indiana Hoosier fan base is going to panic after losing to Ohio State, but I think everyone was kind of hoping, we saw, for example, Purdue knocked them off a year ago at home, so it was like maybe this is Indiana's chance, and then we all saw what happened, and I think there was for lack of a better phrase, there was a small level of panic, right? But I think everyone's kind of realized, like you said, that's just the Buckeyes this year. And then Indiana gets Penix back and looks pretty darn good against Michigan State. And it's kind of like, okay, we're kind of figuring out where this team might be. But it really will, I think, also come down to, are they developed enough? Is there enough depth there? Is Penix the real deal that they skip the hiccup, which we've seen year in and year out the last couple of years, that has ultimately cost them a bowl game? Last year was Minnesota. And I'm really interested to see if they can skip that part of the season that's been about the height of frustration the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think that it is. I think that they're only going to get better and better. and even the defense. I think that they're going to those few hiccups because they're young. They're young, but I think it's going to be a good-looking season for Indiana. Of course, we'll find out as that goes on. Basketball, of course, moving along as well. A Hoosier Hysteria was last week. Not a lot there. I know you've got some other teams getting started this week. Indiana didn't show a lot. One good thing is Jerome Harmon was on the floor playing a little bit. So the Hoosier fans got to see that, which is a positive sign. Not too many people are pulling for Indiana to do too much this year. Not pulling for, but have picked them to do well. I mean, most national prognosticators have them in the bottom third of the Big Ten. I don't think it's going to be that bad. I'm not sure how good it can be, but they've got more talent on this team than people realize.
Yeah, I think that I pretty much would agree with that. I don't know how high the ceiling can be. I don't think they can shock anyone and win the Big Ten this year. But I do think the floor may not be quite as bad as people are thinking. I think just last year left such a sour taste, and not even last year. There was the stretch of 12-13 that people don't know what this team might be capable of. The Hunter thing is huge, in my opinion, assuming he gets his legs back under him and can be the recruit that he was. Last year there were people that thought he could have been the third best player on that team behind Morgan and Romeo, which, gosh, I think we've talked about this a couple of weeks ago. How many more of those 12 or 13 end up being wins if you're getting 10 to 12 points at a Hunter? It's all hindsight, of course, but I think that is huge. I'm still, I don't know how you feel. I'm still kind of weirded out by the whole situation. I'm not convinced yet, even though all signs point to it, that he's going to be a major contributor this year. I just feel like there's a lot of buts. If you
there is, I agree, and that's why I asked Archie Miller that up at the Big Ten Media Days. I asked how realistic can you be? Is it to expect him to be a big part of this team this year? And his answer was, I have tempered expectations. I think that the real answer is he's going, but he's not there yet. He's got a long way to go to get into game shape. I think he's a guy that you might see for 5 minutes at a time. And how effective he can be in those 5 minutes, we're not sure. We'll have to wait and see. But that's a big question. But it's an accurate question.
And to be fair on our parts, we're guessing because we have to guess. They've told us nothing about his condition. We've all heard things. We can all speculate. It's not fair to do that publicly, but we don't know because we're not allowed to know, basically. So we all have to kind of, like I said, read between the lines a little bit of what we're hearing.
We're on a need-to-know basis, and they don't think we need to know.
They certainly don't on many, many different fronts, especially the mysterious Jerome Hunter, quote, leg condition, unquote.
Absolutely. Visits coming up for Indiana. Trey Patterson is coming in this weekend. He's a kid from New Jersey. He's in the 2021 class, but a bigger recruit for them. Dawson Garcia out of the 2020 class is scheduled to be in Bloomington on the 25th through the 27th. That's a recruit that I've said over and over Indiana must get, because if not, you go into that season of what he would be with potentially one guy in the front court, Race Thompson. The rest of that currently is on the roster might not be here. 2 of them or 3 of them for sure will be gone. Trey Jackson Davis would be a junior. Don't know if he'll be here. So you could be going into that season with a bunch of freshmen if they don't land somebody in this class.
Yeah, and he really, he's a star. I've been following along with the recruiting. It's tough to, again, guess where Indiana sits. There's been a lot of positive things I've seen, and then, you kind of read into the way he schedules his visits, and Indiana didn't maybe seem like a priority as much as some of the other schools. But again, that's pure speculation. It's just a matter of maybe his travel schedule. So I can't quite figure out. I've read plenty that seems like Indiana is sitting very good for him. He's a big man out of Minnesota, and he'd be a guy that really rounds out that recruiting class well in terms of position. It's something that class really needs.
Absolutely, absolutely. What are your expectations going in for the season for Indiana? I know a lot of people have picked them to finish 10th or worse. I don't think it's going to be quite that bad. I think they can definitely make it into the tournament this year. I think that they have the talent to get there, without doubt. And unless there's this major rash of injuries again, there's no reason for them not to make the tournament with the talent they have.
Yeah, so if their November schedule, they need to run it. I think it's very runnable, so that just has to happen. So let's just assume that does. I don't know if they'll get all of the wins they got like last year in the non-conference. So many of those close games, right? That they were sitting so pretty going into Big Ten season when everything fell apart. But I can't for the life of me see them losing at a stretch even remotely close to the 12 of 13 last year. And again, it's impossible to predict the bubble of what the tournament's going to look like this year. But, last year they were basically one win from being in the tournament. So I'm with you on, I think they can make the tournament. I guess if you're going to ask me a prediction, I'll be optimistic and say they do get in. And I've heard Archie Miller said this team can be special. And I believe him. I don't think he comes out and says that publicly, knowing Archie over the last couple of years, if he didn't think there could be something to this team. So I guess I will drink the Kool-Aid, so to speak. I think they could be a lot better than people think. Again, I said it 5 minutes ago, they're not going to win the Big Ten. But yeah, I could see it being a lot better than a 10th or 11th place finish, which seems to be the, mean prediction, average prediction, so to speak, for them this year.
Yeah, Corey Evans of Rivals, in regards to Garcia, says that Indiana is a serious suitor for Dawson Garcia. The information that he has most recent is that Marquette and the Hoosiers are the two programs that might be slightly ahead, and Garcia is expected to make his decision and commitment and sign this fall rather than waiting until the spring. I know here of late, Kansas is kind of taking themselves out with being Kansas. North Carolina signed a few guys. And so that leaves Indiana in a much better spot. And they have to be thankful to Kansas for taking themselves out and for North Carolina for signing other guys. But I think that Indiana might be in a good position to get this kid, but I think that they desperately need him. Desperately.
Yeah, they need him bad. The one thing I have read or heard was that, a team like Duke could come in late and get involved if they decide they need a big man. Which that absolutely could happen. If he wants to commit by fall, I would love that because I am big on – I love looking ahead. It's a guilty pleasure of mine, knowing what the roster is going to look like. And these recruitments that drag on into April just drive me nuts. Now, to be fair, these kids got to do what's best for them, and I totally get that. Selfishly, it drives me crazy waiting to hear what rosters are going to look like into April.
I hear you. Me as well. Hey, you're down in Louisville. I got a question for you. With all the stuff that's going on, Kansas, how brazen can one university be with the stuff that Kansas has been doing? You had the promo video that Bill Self shot wearing the big fat gold chains and the Adidas shirt. Then you had Snoop Dogg and stripper poles come out here lately. I saw a picture with the Kansas president and Snoop Dogg. I mean, they are basically just flipping the NCAA off.
It is nuts watching what they're doing, and I'll be fascinated to see what happens because we've seen cases that look like slam dunks, i.e. North Carolina, where nothing happens. We've seen seemingly meaningless violations go severely punished. So, it seems the MO has been don't cooperate with the NCAA, don't cooperate, and then those that do get punished. So these guys are not only not cooperating, they're almost appear to be challenging the NCAA, and then to come out and say, oh, we didn't know what acrobatic dancers with Snoop Dogg was going to mean. Yeah, I'm fascinated by it. And, a year ago when Chris Mack took over and there's a cloud hanging over the U of L program. There continues to be that cloud. He more or less shut it down. I remember he had very little media availability last summer, kind of in the dead period, whereas a lot of schools will sprinkle their coach in here and there, and he never came out and said it was just, it was time for me to recruit and try to convince some guys to come here and move past the dark times. But that's what he was doing. And that seemed to me to be a far more effective strategy than what Kansas is doing currently.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Kansas is just snubbing their nose and flying the bird, and they're doing like whatever they want. But it kind of cracks me up a little bit. Rick Pitino, he begged Louisville to fight that deal against the NCAA. They didn't. They bent over and just did it themselves, and they took it. And they got a lot of punishment out of that. And I think Rick Pitino may have been right because had Louisville fought that, they probably may have beaten it and would not be in the trouble that they're in now. But that brings the question I wanted to ask somebody from Louisville. It cracks me up that as good a job as Chris Mack is doing, and he is doing a bang-up job recruiting. He's got them they're a preseason top 10 team, which is amazing from where they've come from recently. But how do they escape with what's going on with Georgia Tech just happened, with what's probably going to be going on with Kansas? How does Louisville, who was on probation for major violations, committed major violations while on probation, how are they going to escape a heavy hand from the NCAA?
Yeah, and a lot of people think something's coming. We don't know if this is why, but, Chris Mack he's got a great freshman class this year. He doesn't have much for next year. He's got one commitment. It's a JUCO guy, a top JUCO kid that's actually from Louisville. That's his class right now. So maybe some of the cloud hanging over is now hurting him a little bit. We don't know, but maybe. But yeah, to recap, they're on probation from the Strippergate recruiting violations, stripper parties, and they have been accused or, even testified in court under oath that they had assistant coaches pay the family of recruits money while on probation. So a huge violation while on probation from a huge violation. However, here's the flip side. Everyone that had anything to do with that is no longer at Louisville. So it's one of those catch-22s of like, you can't not punish a school that does something like that, but who are you really punishing if you do hammer them right now? So I'm not going to try to predict what's going to happen. I don't think anything would shock me. But that is hanging over the program. And like I said, maybe has something to do with a little bit of the momentum dying down for their recruiting class.
Yeah, it's just going to be a weird deal to see it all, feeling how it all falls out. It's just, we haven't heard. We know that Arizona is going to get. There's no way that they escape this. LSU. There's so much that's still out there, hanging out there, and the Kansas thing, and to watch them just flip their nose, it's like, damn. Do they know something that the rest of us don't?
Yep. And we've known the NCAA been in town investigating here in Louisville, but I think they're a little bit behind Kansas. It's again impossible to understand what the NCAA is doing, but as far as we know, Louisville has not gotten their written notice of violation. They've gotten a verbal back in the spring, but the next step would be the written. And sometimes I feel like I'm wasting my breath and I'm trying to guess what the NCAA is doing, but it is going to be interesting. There's some big time programs that are just waiting for that hammer that seems to be ready to drop.
Questioning on the text line, and does Devontae Green live up to all the hype he's getting and lead this team this year? I don't think he's getting that much hype. I just think that he's the best that they got coming back. But to me, my answer is, yeah, he lives up to whatever hype he's getting. He's going to have to for this team to have a chance because they don't have a superstar. That's the one thing that they're lacking, which may be helpful. Maybe that's the reason that didn't work last year. I don't know, but I think he plays as well as he played last year, if not better. I think that there's less distraction for them this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he does. It's hard for me to go all in because he finished his sophomore year hot, and people were like, okay, there's the new point guard. And then things started very slowly for him in his junior year. To be fair, there was an injury, right? So he got off kilter, off base, whatever. But it wasn't until, I'll just say about halfway through the season that he really started taking into form. And then the end of the season, he was really hot and was, a great shooter. And so it just kind of almost looked like a deja vu thing to me of like, oh, he's going to end his junior season hot and get all the hype going into his senior year. But, I think, like I said, he had the injury. He's obviously a year older now, grown up. It's kind of a now or never situation for him. So I'm going to say, I'm going to say he does live up to and I agree with you. I don't think he's being overhyped by any means. But I think he does put a whole season together. How about that?
I agree with you, man. Aaron Matus, sports director from Fox 41 in Louisville. Thank you so much, brother. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Yep, homecoming in Bloomington. We'll see you there.
All right, brother. You have a great rest of your week.
You as well.
Thank you. There's Aaron Matus, the sports director from Fox 41 in Louisville, also an IU grad, by the way. That's going to wrap it up for the show today. For those of you following us on the radio, those of you staying with us the rest of the way, we've got more coming up. Steve Aird will be joining us amongst Tom Allen. We'll hear from him and some other things as well. But a big thank you to Matt Weaver, to Aaron Matus, Jake, for this first hour. For those of you on the radio, I will see you on the radio tomorrow.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along. Well, we flew
Welcome
through
to Indiana
Cincinnati.
Sports Beat Radio. Of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Hump Day, Wednesday, October 9. If you've been with us, you know we had Matt Weaver on already. Aaron Matus, sports director from Fox 41 in Louisville, was on with us as well. Coming up on the program, we're going to hear from Steve Aird, Indiana's volleyball coach. He's going to join us as the Hoosiers' big match tonight, Big Ten match, as they host the Purdue Boilermakers at Wilkinson Hall. That's at 7 o'clock. Also at 7 o'clock, lots of action on the IU campus tonight. Indiana men's soccer hosting number 16 Kentucky, number 4 Indiana, taking on the number 16 Wildcats. That's always a great regional rivalry match. I went down to that to Lexington last year. Indiana's got them at home. I'm going to be bouncing around between both of those, but two huge matches for both teams tonight. Both rivalry matches, of course, Indiana and Purdue on the volleyball court, and then Indiana and Kentucky on the soccer field, on the pitch. So a lot to get forward there. We'll hear from Steve Aird in a little bit. We're also going to hear from Tom Allen and some of the players as well. Basketball visits coming up this weekend. Trey Patterson, a big 6'9" wing in the 2021 class. He's from Rutgers, New Jersey. He's coming down to visit Archie Miller and crew. Then Dawson Garcia, who's in that 2020 class, will be here in a couple of weeks. That's one that, to me, I think Indiana just has to land this kid. He's one that I think that they have to have. Now, according, if you listen to Evan Daniels, he is one of the 247 director of recruiting. He seems to think that Indiana is in a very, very good position for Dawson Garcia. And I would think, if you look at the ingredients on the outside of who all has been looking at him, who has offered him, one of those teams is Kansas. I'm thinking Kansas is kind of taking themselves out of the running with all their antics. You've got North Carolina, who has just signed not one, but I think two guys in that position. Arizona, I think, is just simply too far away. Excuse me. The biggest competition for Indiana, I think, is going to be Marquette. You can't rule out Minnesota. Richard Pitino does a good job there, and he's from Minnesota. But Marquette, they lost a lot last year. They had didn't Marquette have the two brothers transfer?
Yeah, both of those guys. Hauser brothers?
Yeah. They both left there, man. So, yeah, I think Indiana's going to be a ready-made place for this kid to land. Plus, he knows the talent that they have and the talent that they probably have coming in. Plus, it's Indiana. Just be serious about it. But, yeah, I think they're in good shape for him. But we'll find out. He said that he wants to make a commitment this fall. He wants to take care of it this fall. That sure helps you know what you got, what your roster is like. We just talked to Aaron Matus about that very thing. But I think Indiana's in a good position for him. It's just going to come down to what he thinks is the best place for him to be. Because getting to that next level is something that he wants. Like all these high-end recruits. Now, with that said, Indiana has not been the greatest place to get there here of late, but when you're going up against Marquette, yeah, that's not going to be a hindrance. You're going to be on TV all the time. I mean, you just had Romeo Langford go in the first round. Indiana's got, 8 or 9 guys in the NBA right now. So that should not be a problem. The Trey Patterson kid, he's in the 2021 class. I don't know how much room there's going to be in that class, man. You got a lot of recruits going to be fighting for those spots next season. Christian Lander, of course, the highlight of that. But you've got kids like Trey Kaufman from Silver Creek, Caleb First. A lot of people going after the spots in that class. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Romeo Langford, he's returned to live action for the Celtics. He'd been dealing with a little groin tweak. Of course, he had dealt with a thumb and all that before, but you should get a chance to see him play this year. Full bore. How about in Big Ten football, Penn State, and I should have brought this up with both Matt and or Aaron. Did you see the letter that one of Penn State's players received from just a stupid old man talking about how they and they were trying to make a racist thing out of it, and I don't know that it was necessarily racist. I think it was just stupidity. This guy's got long hair hanging out of it that happened to be dreadlocks, but I'm thinking that if there was this long hair period hanging out, it would have been the same no matter if the kid would have been white or black. I think this is just a dumb old man writing to him that him and his wife basically pining for the days of clean-cut young men like Leave It to Beaver with 50s, I guess. It was a typed-out letter is the thing. This letter was typed out. And it praised his play while calling his hair disgusting and among other things. It's just, to me, this is just an old person who is from a different time, number one, and number two, just not up to speed on society today. A lot of those people I just ignore. You're not going to get an 80-year-old person to retrain 80 years of thinking. Just my thoughts on that. I don't know what Jake's in there doing. Sounds like he's rebuilding his carburetor or something.
I found a penny in my keyboard.
You found a penny in your keyboard. Were you sitting there bouncing it, playing? You sound like you're playing quarter bounce.
No, it just fell on the floor.
I'm kidding. Text in from Tim. Does Garcia trim his list before this weekend's visit? Well, it's not this weekend. It's 2 weeks away, but I have no idea. Those lists crack me up anyway. You should never have more than 5. That's the most you can take for visits. And if it's more than that, then you're not serious about what you're doing. We also got to talk to Tom Allen as Indiana football is back in action this Saturday. They take on Rutgers at noon on BTN in a homecoming clash for the Hoosiers. Indiana's a 4,000-point favorite in this game. Let's hear what Coach Allen had to say.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Just coming off our bye week. Thought we had a really productive week together. Set up 3 goals and feel like we accomplished those goals. And I stated those earlier. Another big component of our bye week was to go out and recruit. and that was a very important portion. So I was able to go out on Thursday and Friday and do a lot of good in-state recruiting and see some games and get in front of a lot of coaches. And it's very, very important. Got our staff out as well across the country and doing a great job building relationships and continuing to evaluate players during this process. And brings us to this week and ready for homecoming. Excited to be able to be back home and have a great homecoming crowd. And I know our players came back, and one of the goals was getting back to mentally and physically refreshed and rested, and thought we actually practiced today a little more today than we usually do on a Monday. I thought it was extremely productive and got another lift in today. And so just like where we are as a team, get some guys back and get a chance to focus all our attention on Rutgers and next Big Ten opportunity for this program. So that's where we're at, and I'm ready for questions.
That was Tom Allen at his weekly presser this week, talking about the upcoming week. Indiana should blow Rutgers away. There's no sense in sugarcoating this. Rutgers is not good. They fired their head coach. They fired their offensive coordinator in the middle of the season. That's never a good sign. Their quarterback is not wanting to play because he wants to redshirt. Their best running back, I think, is transferring. It's like all the rats are jumping off the ship before the ship goes down. But that should be good for Indiana, as they'll get one game closer to bowl eligibility, and I think what could be the start of a 4-game winning streak for the Hoosiers. As after they host Rutgers, they hit the road to Maryland, then Nebraska. I'm looking forward to going to Nebraska. I probably will not go to the Maryland game. But I think Indiana wins 4 straight. They haven't done that since 1993 under Bill Mallory. I think they win, and I think they win 6 out of their last 7 games. 9 wins? What? It's crazy. I think at a minimum, they're winning 8. I do. I just do. Of course, disappointment is always a bedfellow with Indiana football. So don't go too far. Hey, we've got Chronic Hoosier coming up next. A little reboot action from the Chronic Man. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat Radio back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett. Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player. This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
All my friends know the low rider.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Talk Radio, coming to you from the Eagle Point Studios in Bloomington, of course. That wouldn't be a Chronic Tuesday without Chronic Hoosier, and he's here with us now. Chronic, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. It's officially basketball season in Indiana. Hoosiers coming off a bye week. It's in football, homecoming week. Soccer's dominating the Big Ten. We say it every week. It is absolutely the best time to be in Bloomington right now.
Yeah, man, the fall weather is here. It's definitely fall, October. A chill is in the air. You've got fall football coming. Indiana, again, with a game at home this Saturday. Homecoming, no less. A noon contest against Rutgers, a team, frankly, that Indiana should have no problems with.
Now, you would think. Right now, the line's currently sitting at 25.5, which, as far as I can tell, I've never, as far back as the records go, which is sometime in the mid-early 80s, Indiana's never been a 25-point favorite in any Big Ten contest. It's only happened 4 times in history. I guess the question is, can they avoid a lapse? And I don't know that Indiana's necessarily in a position where they can overlook any opponents at all. I don't think Rutgers is going to provide too big of a test. At the end of the day, can they perform up to expectations? Can they sustain that momentum offensively that they were able to demonstrate up in Michigan State? Keep that rolling and hopefully grow it a little bit and, show us a little bit more what this offense is capable of. I think the running game remains a huge opportunity, and I don't know that we're going to see, Indiana all of a sudden pivot to being a run first or even second or third team. But, seeing them be a little more effective in between the tackles, seeing them maybe throw some wrinkles in with Penix coming out of the backfield and design scrambles. And just see what this team can do. I think that it certainly has the potential to be special. I certainly feel a whole lot more optimistic about its prospects following the Michigan State game. The more we've had time to kind of stew and marinate on it, looking back. Again, I'm not calling it a moral victory, but I think they showed us a lot of what they're capable of.
Absolutely, and there's so much talent on this team. I mean, down to people like Tywan Mullen in the secondary, and we got to meet with him yesterday, and just talking to him, it's funny because he is so humble and genuine, but very, very confident. And he talked about growing up having to go against. I've got older brothers his older brothers were one of them played for Clemson, and his cousin is Lamar Jackson. So that's the kind of talent that he grew up around. So, man, he is just a special player, and I think there's a lot of those young guys on this program and this team that are. This team has got a very bright future.
I think so, and I think what gives me the most encouragement when you hear their words here this week, coming off the bye, following the Michigan State game last week. One thing that stands out And I know this can be kind of difficult for the typical cynical Indiana football fan. This team believes in itself, and I don't know that you can overstate how important that is when you've got a team as young as what this current Indiana team is. They've clearly got some talent. But one of the things that probably the most critical thing that's been missing for a long time from Indiana was a belief in themselves. You know, it's been a long process to get back to the point where Indiana looks like a competitive football team. I mean, just from a physical standpoint, the size, the speed, the strength that they have to go up against, you know, week in, week out in the big team. They've looked the part now for some time, and you can credit Kevin Wilson for making a lot of strides in that department. There's a whole other matter, though, between looking like a team and believing like you're a Big Ten football team. And this team, you know, as we saw up in East Lansing, they have no problem going toe-to-toe right now with some of the big boys. And that was certainly a concern of mine coming out of the Ohio State game. They did not look fit for fighting. So to see this team bounce back the way in which they did, I think it's going to take some time, perhaps, to win over some more of those Indiana football fans. We've kind of been taught to guard against that hope, particularly at this point in the season, because we often know how the back half can turn. But I'll tell you, it's a dangerous thing if you're sitting in Tom Allen's seat and you look across the room and you got a lot of guys that can look each other in the eye and know that they can get it done on any given Saturday. That's exactly where you want this program to be right now.
Yeah, they've got a stretch of games coming up that are all winnable. Four games coming up. You got Rutgers, Maryland. Then it's game you travel to Nebraska and come back home and play Northwestern. Indiana can do something it has not done for a long, long time, and that's win multiple Big Ten games in a row.
No, absolutely, and I would have to go back and do some digging. It's probably been since the late '80s, early '90s, at least, since you've seen an Indiana team that can count itself as bowl eligible by the first weekend in November, and that's certainly something that's in the cards for Indiana right now. Those three games after Rutgers, you look at Maryland, Nebraska, Northwestern. I think not only does that present an opportunity for Indiana to do some things it hasn't done in a long time, I think it gives Indiana the opportunity to really see what the season holds for them as far as, you know, not just becoming bowl eligible, but securing a bowl. It's more than just an afterthought in the schedule, as you know, as convoluted as the bowl season has become with all of these, you know, traditionalist bowls. It would be something for Indiana to find themselves in a position where they could perhaps go play someplace warm. Perhaps they can finally punch the golden ticket to Nashville to do something that's not only just going to, you know, be another name on the list of the few bowls they qualified for, but actually give this team, this program, this fan base something that gets them excited to go travel to, go support, and, you know, with a little luck, maybe find themselves bowl victors for a change. So I think it certainly holds the potential to be special. Now, obviously, they've got to actualize that potential, and the next four games over the next month are absolutely going to be it's going to be the season in a nutshell right there, because after you wrap that up, you've got Penn State, who looks like it's going to be a really, really tough test for Indiana. Then you bring the Wolverines in town, and, you know, circle that one perhaps as the big upset possibility this season. But you got to come out of that four-game stretch, hopefully with no less than three, in order to really have things roll and have a lot of momentum going into November to close out the season.
Yeah, I think that they have to do that just from a mental standpoint of showing that this is not the same old Indiana that people have talked about. It is a team that is program that is on the rise, and I firmly believe that. I say what I think all the time, and I don't blow smoke. This team really has potential to do something special, and I don't think a lot of people believed that at the beginning of the year. A lot of people, including me, had to question that after that Ohio State game. But what we've learned, Ohio State is a freaking monster, man.
Yeah, we're probably seeing them in the playoff this year. If all things go to plan here for the Buckeyes, they very much look the part at this point. Have yet to really find any stiff resistance anywhere in the league. So I think a lot of teams are going to look back at that Ohio State game and with a thorough beating in hand, and just tip your cap to them. They are absolutely that good. It just shows just how ingrained that program is as far as what it's able to do year in, year out, even in light of coaching changes. All that said, though, there's I guess there's a propensity to overlook what happens in the middle of this conference. And I think when you look at the Big Ten East, and particularly, and you look at the Marylands, you look at the Michigan States, there's a whole lot of opportunity for upward mobility within the division. Even Michigan, for that matter. I mean, I think one thing we have seen, and perhaps it's by contrast what makes what Ohio State does so special, even with Harbaugh, the golden child back home in Michigan, it's not just necessarily plug and play every year. I mean, they have a tremendous resource advantage against 99% of all the teams in the nation, and yet even still that doesn't guarantee that you're going to be in the playoff conversation every single year. And again, there is an opportunity, a tremendous opportunity for a team like Indiana this year to make a statement against a team like Michigan. No differently than there's a chance to make a statement against the Marylands and the Nebraskas and the Northwesterns, for that matter. But it's at the end of the day, nothing is given in this conference, in this division, and there's certainly a whole lot of opportunity for Indiana to perhaps seize that ladder and maybe raise itself up a rung or two this year.
Absolutely. You mentioned soccer earlier. Soccer still continues to lead the Big Ten, having a good year. Man, I cannot believe that they continue to just roll with as many new faces as they have on that team.
It's Ohio State football is perhaps one of the better analogies for Indiana soccer. It is by program definition a tradition of excellence. It's the mantra they live by. It's what they recruit for. It's why kids come here to play, is to be the best. And, it never ceases to amaze me. You look in college basketball, the Dukes, the Kentuckys that are constantly, every single year, reloading professional level talent. And this is something that Todd Yeagley's had to adapt to, and he's certainly, found a way to thrive in this modern recruiting environment where he's got a lot of really, really good young guys, particularly in the offense, that are only here for a year or two before they move on to their professional careers. And to be able to sustain that type of continuity from season to season. I think one thing that gives fans like myself the opportunity is not only do you get to meet a lot of new guys every year, but really taking pleasure in the development and the growth of the team, finding the ways in which they learn how to attack, finding the ways they learn how to overcome adversity, and really come together as a team. Because that's one thing that Indiana does as well as anybody, is they can transcend season to season and keep the culture what they expect it to be, to keep its underpinnings in defense what it needs to be in order to sustain the type of program that the Yeagleys and Mike Freitag have built over the years. And it's something to behold. And, the thing about soccer right now is, as good as they look, they continue to get better. And I think, having watched this team for several decades now, you're always a little bit apprehensive when they're carrying a single-digit ranking heading throughout the season. That, at what point do they plateau? At what point have they peaked? And you've kind of seen the best that they're going to give you. And you look back at 2012. The best teams in Indiana are the ones that are playing their best soccer come November, and kind of building and crescendoing towards that point. And I think you see all the hallmarks of that in this team right now, learning ways in which they can get the ball upfield, learning ways in which they can get the ball in the net, whether it be set pieces on the counter. This team's got a whole lot of potential to be pretty special, and that's saying something for a program as prestigious as Indiana soccer.
Absolutely, as they continue to roll early in the Big Ten season yet. Now moving on to basketball, it has begun. Let there be basketball, and there was Indiana Hoosier hysteria last week, and got quite a performance, had a stage and everything, man.
You know what? It was a Hoosier hysteria that was too hot to handle. It was too hot for the fire suppression system there at Assembly Hall. Kind of a little wonky. Smoke alarms went off due to the pyrotechnics. So hopefully that's
is that what caused that?
I believe so. It is my understanding that that all the pyro production had triggered the fire system in there. So it was a little bit weird. And that's always one of the things I think you battle at hysteria is the bigger the production, the bigger the lulls in between moments are as they transition from one event to the next. It's always a struggle for these guys to keep it moving. You kind of got the sense at the end of it that Archie had seen enough, that the dog and pony show had gone on a little bit, a little long enough for his liking, and he pulled the plug on it without giving us a chance to see a second half scrimmage. But, more than anything for me, It's more about the introductions. I mean, the dunk contest is great. The 3-point shooting contest is well enough, I guess, and the skills contest. I will continue to enjoy the event simply for the fact that it's our first formal introduction to the roster as it's currently comprised. And I think it's great as well that you get the opportunity to see not just the men's team, but to pack the hall like Indiana can and give the women's team that equal footing and an opportunity to introduce themselves. And, for all the optimism about IU basketball this season, I remain really, really high on what Coach Morin's doing over there with the women's team. This roster has the potential to be something extremely special. I think we could well see another tournament team in Assembly Hall, hopefully for men's and women's. Obviously there's a lot of question marks around the men's team. I guess the biggest disappointment in not getting a chance to see the seniors come out and Davis and Green, and then obviously with Tennessee being held back from what we understand, just precautionary. I don't know that there's a whole lot you can glean from the scrimmage. It certainly was nice to see Jerome back out there getting up and down the floor. Would have loved to see him in the dunk contest, but that wasn't to be this year. But more than anything, man, it's great to be back in the hall. It's great to see the boys back on the floor, the new faces. It's just now I'm just wishing we could roll right into the first exhibition game and get the season started. But we got a little bit of time left before they do it for real here.
Yeah, seeing Jerome Hunter on the floor had to be a highlight for a lot of people. I know that it's a day-by-day thing for him. We talked to him afterwards, and that's kind of what he said. But getting to get out there and to move around, and it's just because, man, that dude can play, man. Just hopefully he can get out there and become a part of that on a regular basis.
Yeah, the turnaround jumper we saw, the high kiss off the backboard as he was flashing across the lane. I think he is certainly something that this team has been missing as far as that that slashing, attacking wing. Somebody that can hopefully stretch, somebody that can just absolutely dominate the baseline for Indiana, open up a lot of space and give them another option offensively. Really, really curious to see this backcourt as currently constructed with Rob and Devontae back there and just all the interchangeable parts in front of them from the 3, 4, and 5. I think it's going to be really, really fun to see. You heard Calvert talk about it, the development that this season holds. I think is going to be absolutely everything. And I was having some conversations afterwards and some folks wondering if perhaps he wasn't tempering expectations a little bit too much. Did he see something that maybe we're not aware of that we should be concerned about? And I think he was exactly right. I think because he said in the same breath that this team has potential to be something special. But this also is going to be a year of development for this team. And I don't think that means necessarily that it's going to be underperforming. I think more than anything, let's develop a culture where the tournament is the expectation, and it's readily attainable for them. The competing in the Big Ten year in, year out is the expectation once again. And hopefully you can't put the cart before the horse, but start talking more about deep tournament runs and Sweet 16s and Elite 8s and Final Fours. That's absolutely where I think everybody wants the program to be. But that stuff doesn't happen overnight. I think we'd be fools to believe that, you just with the stroke of a wand that you're back there. That's got to be established. That's something that's got to be built. You've got to have a foundation in place. And, I think it should give people pause when you hear someone like Calvert Chaney telling you that he believes in this program, he believes in this coaching staff, what they're going to do, and where Indiana basketball is headed underneath them. I will certainly heed his advice, and I share the opinion personally.
Did you see Kansas's Midnight Madness attempt with Snoop Dogg?
I can't say I have ever seen an entire athletic department flip both birds up as high as they could hold them directly towards Indianapolis in the NC2A. But Kansas not only achieved to somehow pull that off, but they turned around and aired their backside to the NC2A in the same fell swoop. That was something. I don't know. I don't know that I necessarily can believe it even still.
I mean, are they just daring them to do something? It's like they're daring them.
I'll tell you what, if you study litigation history against the NC2A, I'm of the camp that believes you absolutely are best served by fighting tooth and nail every allegation, every charge they levy against you, and not only fighting it vigorously, but doing it as openly and as loudly as possible. Right or wrong, it's just proven to be a pretty effective tack in dealing with some of their charges, and I don't know that we've yet seen anything quite as over the top, at least as far as Kansas's posture thus far against their notice of allegations here. We'll see if it pans off. I do think that there's an extremely high risk reward ratio involved here. I can't imagine the NC2A is too keen with aerobatic dancers on poles and Snoop Dogg with his money gun at an NC2A sanctioned event. But we'll see what the response is. It's certainly going to be fascinating. God bless Adidas and God bless Bill Self, because they are setting some precedent here in how to respond to these charges.
And it started, if you remember, they did a promo with Bill Self walking into a record store, thumbing through some hip-hop records, wearing a big fat gold chain and an Adidas T-shirt.
Yeah, it makes the whole we didn't know what we were getting defense a little bit ingenuous. I have a feeling they knew every bit what was coming on. Choreography aside, this was very much, I think, by design, a double bird to the NC2A in every single conceivable fashion. And kudos to them for pulling it off so effectively. But good Lord, I still to this point can't even comprehend what just happened there. And we'll see what type of response it elicits. It certainly is going to fire up the Kansas fan base. It certainly could buy them a little bit of breathing room politically in their, in their patch of the wheat field. But we'll see how exactly that plays out in Indianapolis in the end, because there's certainly possibility as well that they not only throw the book at them, but every other book on the shelf could be coming their way. So we'll see, but I'm not going to hold my breath on it when it comes to the NC2A taking down a blue blood.
We certainly will, man. We got the double bird. Couldn't have a better time than we do with Chronic Hoosier each and every week. Chronic, thank you so much, man.
Thanks for having me, brother. We'll catch you next. Actually, I'll be off next week. I'm going to be in Florida.
That's right. He's going to be gone. We're going to be without him for a week, and also that means you'll have to be without another edition of Mind Your Banners for a while, right?
Yeah, that tends to happen on its own sometime. I think there's some talk about cutting the pod perhaps tomorrow. Be speaking at the first ever Flyover Podcast Festival here this Friday. I'm pretty stoked about that at the Dimension Mill. I've got a great conversation coming up with Galen Clavio, Jared Morris from Assembly Call, and an old buddy of mine, Jeremy Goodrich, is going to be moderating the panel. He's the proprietor of Shine Insurance here in town. He's got a Scratch Entrepreneur podcast, so he's going to be the moderator for a discussion about sports and podcasting and all sorts of good stuff this week. So we're happy to participate in that as well.
Awesome, brother. We appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. We'll catch you later.
You bet. There's Chronic Hoosier. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here in Bloomington on this Hump Day, Wednesday, October 9, and a big day for Indiana volleyball as they host the Purdue Boilermakers tonight. Joining us now, Coach Steve Aird, the Rockett's volleyball coach this side of the Pacific. Coach, how are you?
I'm good, man. Good morning to you and your listeners. How's everyone doing?
Good. We're doing well. You guys are coming off of a Big Ten win over Northwestern as you settle back into Big Ten play. Big match tonight. A big rival comes into town with Purdue, but also they're another ranked opponent out of the Big Ten, which is not an infrequent occurrence, unfortunately, but huge match for the Hoosiers tonight, Coach.
Yeah, it's funny, the word rivalry gets thrown around a lot, and I can understand the history and I understand the fan bases, but we got a long way to go till it's real. And I think a lot of it starts with me and starts with our staff and the team, and we've got to get better and get to the point where we're playing at an elite level consistently. They've been doing that for about 16 years. We've been here about 18 months. So we've got work to do, but we're really excited about it. We like our team. 12-5 on the year. We've got a great RPI. We're in a really good spot, and somewhat healthy, certainly confident, and excited to get in front of our home fans tonight.
How hard is it to get not necessarily players, but just people in general, fans and everybody, to understand this is a project, and while improvements are already being made, obviously, success this year, a huge road win over Kentucky, the players that are coming in, obviously, an increase in talent coming in. But there's a big picture here of getting to the point you're trying to get to in the toughest conference that there is in the country as far as volleyball. But how hard is it to get people to understand this is a process?
Yeah, well, I mean, in the big picture, we were here, we've been here 18 months. We took over a program that was 1-19 and averaging about 350 fans at home matches, and we've taken some strides. I don't think, I was asked yesterday in a press conference, do I think it's a measuring post against Purdue? And my answer is we don't measure against anyone but ourselves. Our job's to get better, work as hard as we can, recruit great kids, develop the ones that are in the program. They've been working really, really hard. I think the culture is great and everything's coming, but it doesn't go from A to Z, and I think especially when you're playing elite level programs, consistently, it's unfair to try to jump to a Final Four team 18 months in. And yeah, we've had some great wins, and RPI is really healthy, and we feel great about how we're developing. But for us, it's really worried about Indiana. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about Purdue or other programs. I think about our program and what we need to do.
And I know, with that said, Purdue being an in-state school, how important is it to do well against, just because they're in-state, when you're fighting for a lot of the same recruits?
Well, I'm not real worried about recruiting. I think there's a few things that we have that I don't think a lot of places in the country have. I think we've got one of the best campuses in the country. Our academic fit is unbelievable. The arena is unbelievable. I think it's a staff that's won national championships and trained Olympians and trained pros. And if a kid wants to come to get an unbelievable degree and play at the highest level and develop into the best player they can play, and then that's our pitch. We're pretty straightforward about it. And there's a lot of good programs in the country, and I think we've done a good job, especially in the state of Indiana, of getting people's attention quickly. I mean, we've got some kids committed. Some of the top players in the state have committed to play for us over the next 3 to 4 years. And our intention is to try to recruit and attract the best player in Indiana every year. It's a very, very straightforward. I think I'd be doing the school and the program a disservice if that wasn't our goal. And you look at what football does and certainly what basketball does and what their goal is. It's no different for us. We're just relatively new, relatively fresh, and volleyball recruiting is unique because we're looking at 8th and 9th grade kids. So in the next 3 or 4 years, I think the fans of Indiana volleyball will see a lot of local kids stay home.
And speaking of, you get 9 new faces on this team, 4 of which are freshmen, and some of that are having a really great season already. Haley Armstrong, are you surprised by how much of an impact she's had as a freshman on this team?
No, I mean, with Haley and with Emily Fitzner, those are 2 kids who, if you follow volleyball, it's a setter and a libero, and they're on the court almost exclusively. And as true freshmen, having to carry a load, but they're different kids. They're just built differently. I think Haley's played internationally and has been developed at a really high level coming out of the Toronto area, and it's been very fortunate. She's an incredibly grateful kid, hardworking kid, first one in, last one to leave, in on off days. Eats film, does everything that you want from a kid, does it the right way. And Emily's no different. She's come from an unbelievable family of athletes, and obviously her brother played basketball at IU last year, but mom played volleyball at Hawaii and dad played basketball at Stanford, and her DNA is different. She's just here to change the program and change the culture, and they've done a great job so far. They'll have their hiccups, as every freshman will, and sometimes they're frustrated by not being able to get to chapter 4 or 5 faster, but they've done an unbelievable job for us this year so far.
While you need a quality play at every position, are these 2 positions that you can build a program around when you have them as a basis for freshmen, because you're going to have them for 4 years?
Yeah, no question. It's the same as a freshman quarterback or a freshman point guard, and that's the drivetrain kind of the program. And in 2020, which is next year, it'll be our first full recruiting class, and we're going to bring in 7 or 8 new bodies, and a lot of kids that'll be very, very highly touted recruits, top 40, top 50 players in the country, and I think we have a real chance of putting people and pieces around them that are going to develop. And then next year it really takes off. We'll be young, but for the next 2-3 seasons, we're going to have the core that we were hoping to have, and it gets even more exciting.
You guys do a lot of fun things out there at Wilkinson Hall for the volleyball program tonight. No different as Purdue comes calling at 7, having a red out. How red can you get that hall tonight?
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I mean, the students have been great all year. I thought we had great crowds this past weekend. Even after Hoosier hysteria, a lot of loyal IU fans go and support hoops, and rightfully so. But we had about 2,400 people at the match on Saturday, and we're expecting tonight to be sold out. Students are going to get treated to tailgates and food and stuff outside, live DJ outside as always. And then hopefully at 7:00, it'll be tough to find a seat, and people who are passionate about Indiana athletics will be in the stands.
Purdue, just saying the name is enough for people in any sport. It doesn't really matter. But as far as volleyball goes, what does this Purdue team bring in to Wilkinson Hall?
Yeah, well, just good. I mean, they started the Big Ten the same way we have. They're 1-3. They beat Northwestern. We beat Northwestern, and obviously Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Illinois are all top 15 teams. So they're really well trained. Have had great recruiting class after great recruiting class stacked for about the last 15 years. I think their staff has done a great job, and it's certainly they've had wild success. It's a testament to the culture of volleyball in the state that they've been able to do it, and obviously something that we're looking to try to match. And so I got a lot of respect for them. I understand there's a lot of distaste in the Indiana Purdue thing, but my job is not to get worried in the nonsense. I'll let everyone else worry about all the other stuff. I just want Indiana to show up and play great.
How big would a win be over just a ranked Big Ten team at home do for this program? You went on the road and got a big road win over a ranked road opponent in Kentucky. Now, how much would it mean to this program to do that over a Big Ten team?
Well, and it's funny, man, because last year we swept Ohio State home and away. We beat number 14 Michigan at home, and that was kind of in our first year with a really beat-up squad. I think everything is it's a one-off. We'll worry about the match. I think if we win, great. If not, we'll get a shot at them in a few weeks. It doesn't hurt to lose to a ranked team. I mean, it's not going to hurt our RPI. It certainly doesn't destroy our confidence. For us, it's just a great opportunity, and the Big Ten offers you a lot of them, where you can play at home and on the road against exceptional teams. And, here's what I know. We want to win. We've prepared after the match on Saturday night. We started preparations. We worked really hard the last few days. The kids have worked really hard. And all you can do is show up, play loose, have fun, and hopefully find a way to win.
We'll talk about this then, but also you go to West Lafayette in a couple of weeks, and you guys are taking a bus trip for the fans up there, and very inexpensive, $15 gets you a ride and a ticket to that Purdue game return trip up there to West Lafayette on October 30th.
Yeah, and for us, it's just about checking out the culture. I think a lot of people, when they see the Big Ten volleyball stuff on TV, you see people, there's 8,000 or 9,000 people at matches at Nebraska and 5,000 or 6,000 at Wisconsin and Penn State and Minnesota, and Purdue is always sold out. Their student section's great. So, part of creating what we're trying to create at Wilkinson is for people to be aware of just how big a deal it is. I mean, it's the highest profile female sport in the Big Ten. Attendance is huge viewership on the Big Ten network. It's the number one female sport on the Big Ten network. So, just trying to create that culture here. I think there's a lot of people who want to get behind us, but it's letting them know that it's a big deal and letting them know that when teams play here in Bloomington, we have to make it a competitive environment and a great home environment, because that's what we see 13 other trips during the year.
You're wearing a lot of hats, Coach. You're being the managing, the marketing guy. You're coaching. You're doing all. How hard is it to build a program and build a fan base at the same time?
Well, it's the best. I think it's the one thing I enjoy the most. And I don't think there's any little things. I mean, from the people that we've got incredible people who take tickets and help people get the seats. I mean, the ushers are just wonderful people. I think the athletic department has done a great job, from parking to what people can eat. Everything has changed in the last 18 months about how people feel about the program. And I'm proud of that. And, I think a lot of coaches want to worry only about X's and O's, but I want to worry about people. And I think the better you take care of people, the more you invest in people, the more people know that we're really working and we're trying to do right by these kids and give them a great experience. It's, people generally root for you if they feel like your heart's in it. And I think everything's important.
Absolutely. And I can tell you this, although everybody wants the Hoosiers to win, this is one of the few sports, I promise you, if you go out and attend, you're going to have fun no matter what, even if Indiana doesn't win on that particular night. It is just a fun environment out there. The students are all having a blast. There's stuff to do for the little kids all the time. It's just a great family atmosphere and also a great competition atmosphere.
Yeah, we're in the entertainment business, man. I think, we want people to come out, families, people from the community, students. We want everyone to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours, eat well, cheer, laugh, dance. If kids are making noise and breaking things, I've told you, we're good with it. Bring them out. If you got really rowdy, rambunctious kids, bring them. This is exactly where we want them. Same with the college students. We don't want people to show up and not make noise. The answer is to be loud. So it's a great environment for everyone. I think it's going to build into something really special in Bloomington, and we're really thrilled to be a part of it.
Absolutely, Coach Steve Aird. I can't thank you enough. As always, man, we will see you tonight. Good luck as the Hoosiers take on the number 20 Purdue Boilermakers out at Wilkinson Hall at 7 p.m.
Thanks a lot, guys. Go IU.
You betcha. There's Coach Steve Aird joining us on the program tonight. The Hoosiers, like I said, taking on Purdue, number 20 Purdue at 7 o'clock at Wilkinson Hall. Also tonight, the number 4 men's soccer team taking on number 16 Kentucky at Bill Armstrong Stadium at 7 o'clock. So there's a ton to do on the IU campus tonight. High-end sports on top of that. Volleyball is the most popular. Volleyball is the most popular participation sport by girls in America for 5 years running. And like you just heard Coach say, it's the most popular girls sport on BTN. It is just one that's growing and growing. Well, a lot of us play. I played volleyball, summer league volleyball and all that stuff. It's just a fun sport. But between that and soccer tonight, you got plenty to do. We got football coming up this weekend and more to get to, as tomorrow we'll be back to having the reporters segment on. And then Friday, the Todd Father, of course, will be joining us as well. But that's going to wrap it up for us today on the program. Well, big thanks and shout out to all of our guests. We had, where I lost my list. Aaron Matus was on and Matt Weaver from Pigs.com. So we're very thankful for Aaron Matus from the sports producer, the sports director from Fox 41, for having him on. We heard from Coach Allen as well. So, and Steve Aird, of course, from Indiana Volleyball, but as for Jake, too. So thanks a lot, Jake, for keeping us on the track. That's going to wrap it up until tomorrow. From the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, this is Jim Quayle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and I will see you on the radio.
Quicksands got no sense of humor. I'm still